Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the JKWD podcast. We hope you are having a wonderful day wherever you are. As we mentioned early on in our discussion with Kathryn Gordon today, we're thinking about everybody who is in the way of the fires on the West Coast. Hopefully, she's not affected by the time this podcast comes out. It's looking pretty scary these days, at least from where we're recording. How you doing today, Kelvin?
Doing fine, sir. Having a lovely day, and just everything's coming up roses right now. I'm awesome. I'm good with that.
Awesome. Well, we get a good show for you today. Kathryn Gordon. You remember we had her husband Jon on last year to talk about Coffee Bean, and he mentioned that they were writing this book on relationships, and Relationship Grit is out. And Kathryn is the Chief Energy Officer of the Jon Gordon Companies and co-author of Relationship Grit. We talk a little bit about the book, about the 4 C's, about a relationship action plan, a free one. You can listen to the episode and look at the show notes. We'll give you a link to that and all that good stuff. We're brought to you today by Vitamin K Daily, philosophical supplements for your attitude health. Get your daily dose of positive from the Prince of Positive himself, Mr. Kelvin T. Ringgold Sr. That's the other guy on this podcast. He's,
yeah.
I was gonna say he's too busy smiling and laughing to say hello or anything.
I saw that you actually looked down so you could get that philosophical supplements.
It's not written anywhere.
Okay.
I'm just pulling it.
Okay. I thought maybe we were just doing a little check there, but I see NLP, just do an NLP technique to bring it back in.
Yeah.
Got it.
If I don't look at your face, I'm unlikely to stumble over it.
I'm so sorry.
Well, there are just some phrases that don't roll off my tongue.
Got it.
I'm not saying that one doesn't roll off the tongue. It's just not mine. Some people have. Some people have trouble with certain phrases, and that's one of them for me, especially at this speed that I'm talking with. But you can get those philosophical supplements for your attitude health, 4 weeks free at vitaminkdaily.com. After that, it's $24.95 a year. That's 9.5 cents a day. But that'll bill annually, because it'd be really annoying if you had to spend 55 cents on a stamp to send a dime.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Or if you made Kevin pay that 30-cent PayPal fee every time you sent him a dime.
True enough.
Again, that's vitaminkdaily.com. Get yourself 4 weeks free. And on the other side of the music, you're going to hear our conversation with Kathryn Gordon.
Podcast, where we talk about better humanhood and teach you how to dominate your world. You ready? Here we go.
Hi.
Good morning. Or is it more? Where are you?
So I am in Los Angeles, Santa Monica.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're having a lot of.
Well, I'll tell you, it was actually yellow yesterday. You didn't really smell the smoke, but it was really, it was very eerie. Where are you guys from?
I'm located in Savannah, Georgia. Kelvin's outside of Syracuse, New York.
Yeah.
Now, there was something international. No, that was just
There's just a list of phone numbers if you're dialing internationally.
Okay. Well, somebody said hello, HALO. Maybe I thought you were from.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, no, that's just me being friendly.
Okay. I didn't know, because that's isn't that like a Swedish thing?
How is it?
No, we're an odd mix of a lot of things. He and I. We are very glad to have you with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to hear that you're safe from fires. That you're not evacuating yet.
No. It's scary. I have a friend of mine that was vacationing with their family, and she just texted me this morning, and they have to get. I don't know. I think they're just outside of Oregon though, or something like that. But she said, really bad.
Yeah, I got a coworker. The last time I worked with him was Tuesday night, and he was well outside the evacuation zone in Oregon. And then we checked him Wednesday night when he was off, and that evacuation zone was creeping right up on him. So I'm sure he's out by now.
It's scary.
It's scary
Very
out there.
scary.
But the fact that you're seeing smoke all the way down in LA from those fires, I mean, if people aren't aware of the geography, I mean, there's a 5-hour drive from San Francisco to LA. So
exactly.
Well, okay, so are the Santa Ana winds happening yet, or is that still yet to come?
Okay, I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't know.
Okay.
And I thought about that when we just started talking about this. I have intentionally turned off all news.
I'm with you.
Yeah, we talk about doing that a lot. Yeah.
Yep. I just have kind of unplugged, so I don't know what's going on.
I completely understand.
Yep.
Completely understand. Because sometimes you have to. Because if you just keep pouring that stuff in, it just turns to mush. So,
I had to do it for my peace of mind. Really. Yep. Really. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there is no better place to be on the planet in a podcast for your peace of mind than hanging out with us.
I love it.
Just ask Jon.
So, well, you know what? It's funny. Jon said, "Oh yeah, I remember those guys. They were great." And he wanted to be here, of course, but he has like a big leadership call that he's doing with his team. So, but yeah, he was like, "These guys are great. You'll have fun." So I was like, "Okay."
That's good. Well, we talked to him last year, and he mentioned his book that y'all were writing, Relationship Grit. And then he specifically said that we had to have you on.
Oh, wow.
And so, hi.
Hi.
Do you maybe want to start by telling us a little bit about your mission with this book and a little bit about the book? Without giving it away too much, because we still want people to buy it.
Well, really, I wanted to write this book because we really started seeing a lot of couples that were splitting, that were having issues. And I just felt like if we could share our story, which has not been pretty, that and able to get on the other side, that we could hopefully help couples stay together, and not just stay together, but thrive.
The 3 marriages too late for that book for me.
What'd you say, Kelvin?
I said your 3 marriages too late with that book for me, but maybe we'd be good for the next one.
Listen, this is what we say. You know what? You're going to have to work on yourself. So you can do it in your first marriage, your second marriage, or your third marriage, right? Because no matter where you go, there you are.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, that is so very true. Yeah. Yes. So I'm here.
Yeah.
So great. Anyway.
So we talk about in the book the 4 C's, and the first one being communicate. And basically, you got to talk it out to work it out. So that was something that was really difficult for Jon to do, and I would always try to press to communicate, and especially with what's going on right now with COVID and all these things. If you're not communicating, there's a lot going on. And I think what's happening is really the underlying emotion is fear. Am I going to be able to take care of myself? Am I going to be able to take care of my family? So it really kind of boils down to that. So it even happened with Jon and I. I mean, think about it. This is a guy who literally was traveling last year. I think I want to say he was on the road and did 86 speaking engagements.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, it was a screeching halt in March, and he was home.
Yeah.
And we didn't know how that was going to work out. So in the beginning, it was a little hairy. I mean, we're going to be able to pay our bill. I mean, it's scary. So, after we just started talking through everything and realizing, pinpointing the fears and then trying to come up with a game plan. So again, it's about communication, because where there's a void, negativity will fill it, right? So you got to communicate. And the next C is connect for us. And it's about taking the time to connect with your partner. We would take walks, we still do, and walk and talk and sometimes fight. Absolutely. But in that, we're taking the time to connect and show each other that they matter. Let me keep going.
Yeah, that's, I mean, a lot of people forget that part. It's easy to fall into, but I matter, you not as much. And that's not, those aren't the words,
but they're the behavior.
That's the feeling, that's the behavior. Yeah. So
yeah. So in that, I totally get it. And I think, again, that kind of goes back to talking about that, who's more important. And believe me, Jon and I had these fights where, I would feel like what I was doing was important. He would feel like what he was doing and what was important. But if we really talked about what the end goal is, what's the end goal? The end goal is for us to thrive individually and together. And of course, if you have children, you got to factor that in as well, right? And then that kind of takes me to the third C, which is commit. And it's committing to each other and to your, for Jon, we came up with a mission statement for our family, but I mean, you can do it just as a couple. And so we'd have to go back to that. And there's a study that says, when couples take the time for each other, when they really commit to taking the time, they're more likely to stay together. So there was that. And then the last one is to show you care. And in showing you care by doing the little things, and especially for Jon, doing the things that he really didn't want to do. So, that would be something maybe as simple as, this is going to sound crazy, but I mean, Jon, he's not very, very technical. So it might be me, going to fix something, or his door would be broke. So it's just always, and he would say to me, can you come look at this? And I didn't really want to, because I had things going on and what I was doing was more important. But I would take the time, stop what I was doing, and go over to look at what he was doing. Or he'd show me a video that he had done. What do I think about that? Which would show that I cared. So those are the 4 C's we talk about in the book.
Well, those are, I tell you, the fact that you have a spouse or partner that wants your input is huge. Because I know a lot of families, I mean, the guy's the guy, or whichever one is the dominant person is the dominant person, and the other one's got no place to go. This is the way we're going to do it. We're not going to, I'm the boss, doggone it. And it's tough sometimes because you're battling a lot of stuff there. You're battling maybe how they grew up, what kind of family did they grow up in, what's behind all of that platform, right? So sometimes getting to the point where you can have those communications, those conversations, is such a huge spot. And people's egos and self-images are so wrapped up in what could be a small thing, but tends to be not. So listening to some of the stuff that Jon has said from time to time, because he told us definitely you were the relationship person in that family. You pulled him out of the muck as far as relationships go. So how does a couple overcome that? Well, probably
and I totally get what you're saying, because I think, there normally is one person who, might be the breadwinner or came from that same family dynamic. Came from that same family dynamic where maybe the man, it was all about the man. And it's one of the other things we talk about, which is you treat her like a queen and she'll treat you like a king. And it started out with little things. So here's an example. In the midst of raising our children, Jon was flying all over the country. He'd written these books. Everybody wanted a piece of Jon. He would get emails all the time about, can you meet me for this? Can you do, he was important. Mm-hmm. I'm at home. I'm standing in my kitchen. I've got my nightgown on. My hair's disheveled. I've got to run the kids around again. He's coming out the door. He's got a suitcase and he's all buttoned up and he looks so handsome. And the first thing I wanted to do was cut him down. Like I really wanted to say something to cut him down because I felt bad about myself. So some of that boils down to emotional maturity, and that I finally stopped and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to compliment him. I need to do that here. And it was hard to do in the beginning, but before we walked out, I'd say, man, you better watch yourself, Jon Gordon. I mean, I would like to say these things, but he would beam from ear to ear. Mm-hmm. And the more I did that, the more it made me feel better. And then the more it kind of boomeranged back to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was a definite paradigm shift for both of us. So sometimes it's going to take one of you to make that decision. And it may not happen right away, but you have to commit. And again, that's where the emotional maturity comes in.
Yeah. You got a book on that too?
Well, a lot of that is in the book.
Oh, okay.
Right. It also it shares really our issues early on. I mean, let's face it. Jon was a young father. He was very much about himself and trying to make a life and a name for himself. So early on, there was some infidelity. Mm-hmm. And then there was, some drinking on my part. I mean, we air our dirty laundry in this book to be able to show people we're not coming from a place of, here's how to have a beautiful marriage. No. It's like, here's how to come up from the ashes. Mm-hmm. And if you're willing, if you want to stay in the relationship, if it's important to you, here's how you can make it. Here's how you can turn it into something beautiful.
Awesome.
So what was it like? I mean, you already had this history where it started off rough and then it got better, and then Jon's flying around all over the place doing speaking engagements, and how was it sitting down and actually writing this thing together? Then I'm guessing based on the timeline of when we learned you were writing the book and when the book came out that you were probably editing under quarantine.
Yeah.
So like, what was it like just all of a sudden being thrown together and like having to live your lives together and then also do this hard work together?
That's a great question, because as we started to write the book, so first off, we were doing it on separate computers and just sharing the document, but somehow that was not working out. Mm. So then it ended up being that Jon would sit down and write his parts, and then he'd get up, and then I would sit down and write some of mine. And it started to be really collaborative in that way. Mm-hmm. But I got to tell you, when we started reliving some of the things that we had gone through, we fought. There was anger. I mean, it brought up a lot of emotions. And, but that kind of, for me, I thought, you know what, this means we are really supposed to get this out. You know, again, if we can get through all this stuff and genuinely be on the other side and truly enjoy each other now, anybody can. So yeah, it was that in itself was a growth process for us, for sure.
Wow. I listened to your first podcast when you first brought the book out, you and him. So I heard some of that stuff back there. I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be a good podcast.
So which one was that? The one
this was on his site, on y'all's site for the book, when your I guess it was supposed to be a 4-part.
Okay. So
that was your very first podcast episode on that.
Yeah. And okay, so I got to tell you something. I didn't know he was going to use that. And, you know, and not that I'm ashamed of my past at all, but, you know, I probably, and that's why he's good at what he does is, you know, he kind of caught me raw. Whereas I think if I really knew where he was going, I would have maybe cleaned it up a little bit or packaged it up better. But he just kind of went in and I mean, we didn't get into detail, but yeah, you know, so if you heard that podcast, then you know I came from an alcoholic family, and I myself started, you know, smoking pot and drinking at 13 years old. So, you know, growing up like that, and then changing my whole life at 25 and starting to work on myself. But again, coming from where I was and then getting together with Jon, you know, you're going to have issues, but everybody does. Everybody does. So yeah. There's a lot more to that story. A lot more.
It sounded potentially dicey. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but simultaneously, I got a better feeling of who you were, where you were coming from. Because for some reason, I don't know why I had this impression that you would be kind of a shy, quietish person, you know, and I'm like, but that you took that right out of my head, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a really good time when you show up today.
So it's really interesting. Between the two of us, Jon is the introvert. Mm-hmm. So here's the guy that goes out and speaks to thousands of people, but really at home and in his life, he's really an introvert, whereas I'm the complete opposite. You know, I get energized around people. So yeah. And I'm sure people think that because, you know, I've always been behind the scenes, but, you know, I was raising our children. And that was another thing that I talk about in the book, because Jon and I, when we first met, we were both really movers and shakers in Atlanta, young professionals. I was very, very involved in the social scene. And then Jon, in his own right, was, you know, he started a nonprofit called the Phoenix Organization. So when we came together, there was a power struggle. And I say this in the book. I'm not saying that in a relationship, one person has to give up or get behind the other person. Sometimes that's the case. And in our case, that's what I had to do and wanted to do, because I wanted the relationship more than I wanted to be out in the limelight. And so I had to get behind him and support him. And I just kind of was the driving force and support behind him doing what he was doing. And that's just the way it worked. So I think, you know, and he always, you know, of course, gives me credit for that, which I don't ask for it, but I'm saying, you know, he knows that in our case, that's what helped him be able to go out and do what he did without worrying about what was going on at home. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, relationships still require some sacrifice and compromise, and it would be one thing if y'all didn't have kids. We have an almost 2-year-old, and we found out pretty quickly how much of a time and energy taker that is. For the first year or so of her life, before, right up until our collective COVID quarantine, I work from home nights and weekends, so it was a no-brainer for me to be home with her during the day when my wife went back to work. And it was hard because I would wake up with the baby, I would go all day, and then I'd go to work when my wife came home. And now we're in a position where we decided she wasn't going back to work at her job in tourism, which still hasn't bounced back. She'd still be making half of what she was. It didn't make sense for her to go back out there. It's still not easy.
No, it's not.
And it's a big, it's a big change in relationship and lifestyle.
So you do need to read the book. If you haven't yet, read it, because it'll definitely give you tools, and especially during this time, that'll help you empower each other and love each other and not kill each other while you're you're at home. And I got to tell you, factoring in kids is definitely extremely difficult. And I always tell my friends that have young kids, hang in there. I'm telling you, it does get better. It gets better, but it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, it's especially hard when they need everything from you. That's every age we understand has its challenges and good parts. So the good parts of having a 20-month-old are, we want to go somewhere, we just pick her up and put her in a car. There's no car. Right. There's no, you're coming.
Right.
We don't have that. You're going to bed. What do you mean no? I'm going to pick you up and put you in the crib. Cry all you want. You're not going anywhere. And then it's got its challenges. But as they get older, they can do more things on their own. But they can. Yeah.
When they start talking back. Yeah.
But then they can also do stuff on their own. To some extent. You don't have to. You don't have to be with them to move them from, literally across the room.
So there's a saying. There's a saying: little kids, little problems; big kids, big problems. Right? Yeah. So you're in it. You're in it to win it.
Yep. I know we're coming up on time here, but. What have you moved on to what's next yet? Are you looking
it's
forward?
Interesting. Of course, we're only 2 weeks in the release, and after you start to get a lot of feedback, you start to see there starts to be common themes of what more people are looking for. So we're talking about some things, and so we still have to do our second video, which I'm still now I got to really think about what I'm going to say.
now that you know if you were smart, it would have just gotten you all four and then started to release them.
Yeah. That
what he's doing.
I was like, wait a minute. You're really using that? So, but you start to see common themes from the feedback we're getting. So there might be a second book. We'll see.
So in the feedback you're getting, excuse me, what is at this point seems to be the biggest problem that couples face? If it's even possible, what is it?
What I'm gathering up to this point is it sounds like the biggest question is what happens with one of you when one of you is not as committed as the other. Right? So there's normally one person in the relationship who's working harder for the relationship than the other. And so that's been kind of a common question. And the answer to that is not simple. One of the things I say is, so for the person who is the most committed, you really want this. So it's a matter of getting out of your ego and putting everything you have into it and being consistent and showing your partner that you are committed to making this work. It's kind of like what you said before. Everybody kind of has baggage, right? They come to the relationship with issues. So it may mean that, or it may be that your partner is afraid to be too vulnerable because if they will, maybe in their last relationship, their husband left them. So then they have a fear and they don't want to go there. But ultimately, you have to commit. And sometimes it means that one of you is just continuing to be the steady and waiting for, or, encouraging that other person to jump on board. And I'm not saying it always works. Sometimes it doesn't. But most of the time, you start to see a change. It just is not always overnight. So when Jon cheated on me, and I mean, he'll be the first one to say, oh, it wasn't really cheating. There was no intercourse. Okay, whatever. But when that happened, guess what? I didn't want to talk to him. And he just continued, but I got to give him credit because he came up with a family prayer, a couple's prayer, and he would literally say that prayer every night. And I would act like I did not hear him. And then I started to memorize the prayer in my head, but there was no way I was saying that prayer out loud. And then at one point, I just remember starting to say it with him. And I have to tell you, I remember that's when my heart changed. And I realized I want to be in this. And so it's not always equal, but you have to stay with it if you really want the relationship. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. That you did very well. Thank you. Thank you. There you go.
All right. So we want to be respectful of your time, but I think we've come up on the. Is there anything else you wanted to get out there, get across that we didn't get to touch on?
Yeah. The other thing with the book is we have a free action plan. And you can just go to, and that's something you can do as a couple, which is fantastic. And it's www.relationshipgritbook.com. And you can go there and get a free action plan and do it with your partner. And that
wonderful.
Yeah. And you can reach me at Kathryn Gordon. It's just at Kathryn Gordon on Instagram or Facebook.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time and for being here.
Thank you. I really hope you pick up the book. And I'd love to hear if there's something in it that helped. That's my prayer, is if someone can take at least one good takeaway from this book, then it was worth doing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you guys so much.
And thanks again. And we will send you a link when this is up. Should be a week and a half, whatever that Monday is. I think the 21st.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you guys so much.
Tell Jon we said hi.
I will. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening. Show notes and more at jkwdpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends, and we will see you next week. Bye. A Better Humanhood production.